So a new officer or a new director, someone who's not in the SEC reporting system, filed a Form ID with the SEC, hoping to get a new CIK number so that they can file their Form 3 within 10 days of becoming an insider. But after a few days, the SEC has rejected the Form ID because someone with the same name already has a CIK, and the SEC automatically rejects the Form ID without calling you. What do you do? Today on Zippy Point.
Quick Zips by Zippy Point.
Quick and dirty. I'm Brock Romanek, and I'm a big fan of use. Dealing with the SEC's Edgar can be challenging. The database is somewhat broken. There's been a lot of problems over the past years. So I've heard a bevy of horror stories from this past year, some COVID related, some not. This has been going on for a while, and it's just no picnic. It can be really hard to get support from the SEC's Edgar Filing Support Office. Their phone system can be maddening. You essentially get voicemail before you know it. So all you can do is leave a voicemail and hope for the best. The biggest problem is that you have a deadline, and unlike in the old days, Edgar's filer support currently doesn't have any sort of expedite mode. It's first come, first serve, it seems, and so you're stuck with what you get. So if you have the circumstance where you file a Form ID for a Jane Doe, and there already is a Jane Doe with CIK, someone with the same name but at a different company, the Form ID will automatically be rejected by the SEC's database without anyone reviewing the circumstances, without anyone noticing a human that there's a different company associated with that same name. So you have to call down there to the SEC and explain the situation. And if this goes on for a while, you can eat up those 10 days before the Form 3 is due in a hurry, particularly if you didn't try to file that Form ID on the first day that Jane became a new insider. Now, it's possible that the SEC staff will grant you a filing date adjustment if you have to wind up filing something late, but maybe the staff won't. And if you're really pinched for time, you could consider filing a Form 3 using the company's Edgar codes so you meet the deadline, and then file again when you have the Edgar codes for the insider. But this can be quite confusing to the market and can turn into a real mess because now you have duplicate filings down there with the SEC and you have to remove one, and that's going to confuse the outside world. You're going to have to work with the SEC staff to get that all hashed out. But Alan Dye has said that this may give you a reasonable basis under Item 405 of Regulation SK for concluding that the Form 3 wasn't filed late. Or you just bite the bullet and include disclosure in your next proxy under Item 405 of Regulation SK, noting that Jane had a delinquent Form 3 but then you can give the mitigating circumstance, the reason that she couldn't get her Edgar codes on time because the Form ID wouldn't get accepted because someone with the same name is in the database and you can't get a human on the phone. You don't maybe you don't have to get into quite all those details, but maybe you want to. So maybe that's a more palatable solution than filing the same Form 3 twice and had confusing the market. Either way, either solution is definitely not perfect. Anyway, see my Vid-Guide with Alan about proxy disclosures that are made under Item 405 for Section 16 delinquencies. It's pretty comprehensive, and let me know what you think.